How you doing? Sandesh here. I'm going to be reading from spikeonline.com, and it's about Donald Trump signing the executive order stopping DEI crap in the I think in the federal workforce. I think it is. I'm going to get into it now. Um, it's hard to picture Donald Trump as a civil rights hero in the mold of Abraham Lincoln or even Lyndon Johnson. Yet, through his orders to dismantle the ubiquitous regime of diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI), he may have accelerated America's into a post-racial society. DEI ideology has been around for years, but it was given a significant boost after the police killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020. In response, many government and business leaders chose to embrace DEI as means to placate those calling for a new American regime in which people would be divided and advantaged according to race. Yeah, that's 100% true. You see it in film, TV, probably music, most likely music as well. But the thing is, Black Lives Matter. They're definitely not for black people, because the thing is, if anything, there was a. I mean, with all their protests the protesting that they did, they ended up giving more money and more power to the cops, and also the Black Lives Matter also has a board of directors. So and take that for what you will. It shows you how legit they actually are when really they're not. And by the way, if you look into the George Floyd killing, right? Candy Owens' documentary is what we're watching, because she she pretty much gets into the nitty gritty of the whole thing, but she even interviews friends of his as well. So anyway, but DEI initiatives have been flailing recently, even before Trump's election. Indeed, think tank research from last year showed that over half of company executives were already anticipating pushback against DEI initiatives. Among the firms to have recently stepped back from DEI are Boeing, I didn't expect them, and John Deere, Harley Davidson, definitely didn't expect a Harley Davidson, Black and Decker, Target, and the biggest of them all, Walmart. Target or Walmart, I'm also shocked about. Over the past 2 years, I would have thought they would have just carried on waving the flag for DEI, if anything. Over the past 2 years, corporate DEI departments have been slashed, with one third of DEI professionals losing their jobs in 2022 alone. Trump's dismantling of DEI in the federal government no doubt thrills the various factions who support him, from the libertarians to the traditionalist conservatives to the nationalist fringe. I don't think there's that much of a white nationalist fringe as this article's trying to make it out to be. I mean, when Trump won the election, there was a lot more black people and brown people that voted for him. Yet over time, perhaps the biggest winner from the dethroning DEI may be ethnic minorities themselves. Exactly, because black and brown people in general are not going to be for DEI initiatives, because it's all about, if you work hard, the ones who work hard should be the ones who be rewarded. It should never be about race. It should be colorblind. Race should be colorblind. Drawing in part on critical race theory, DEI advocates maintain that racial characteristics largely determine people's lives in America. These new racialist claims that any shortfalls in income, status, or professional credentials stem from racial discrimination. In response, they call for people of color to work together to relentlessly undermine so called white privilege. Well, the thing is, I want to these same people, I want to see I want to know what they say when black actors like Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington and Sidney Poitier was against about using racial discrimination, and they were like, if that's your if that's your crutch, what you have to use, and then you're never gonna and then you're pretty much never gonna make it, because the whole point is, of all the every brick wall that is put up in front of you, and you're still able to overcome, like, racism, right? If you're able to overcome racism and still not make it about that, and then guess what, you've done it. And the fact that they still want to, and the fact that these people still want to use so-called white privileges, like, there's poor white families, not just in America but even here too. So the whole the whole the whole racism discussion is just falling on deaf ears. Rather than seek greater integration, as with the cause of the old civil rights movement, these racialist radicals embrace a kind of resegregation. And by the way, as far as the civil rights movement, the civil rights movement didn't have a corporation like Black Lives Matter involved whatsoever. The civil rights movement was actually a legit thing. Why do you think a lot of black people were killed in it? Anyway, this can be seen from their involvement in schools. This I hate so much, of the fact that they have to force their way into education in schools and colleges as well. I'm so glad when I was in school and college we didn't have this shit. I'm so glad. And there they've advocate indoctrinating young children in DEI ideology. On occasions, they have been known to get third graders, 8 to 9 year olds, to separate themselves by race and ask them to rank their privilege. Wow. If the fact that you're getting children that young to separate themselves by race and ask themselves to rank their privilege, you know what? You're just going to grow them. If anything, that sort of teaching is going to end up having black and brown kids end up being racist for the rest of their lives. That's what DEI pretty much does. It just teaches racism in just a different form. In attacking DEI, Trump has is taking a widely popular position. The idea that, say, President Obama's children should be given an edge against someone from a poor Appalachian hollow seems unjust to the vast majority of Americans of all races. Enthralled to the rational um, identitarianism, I think that's what it says, sorry about that, of the DEI crowd, Democrats hoped that working class voters would turn their way as more became increasingly non-white. But the thing is, working class voters are gonna want stuff that is going to be prevalent work to working class issues, like like the like minimum wage, working conditions, jobs. That's the sort of thing that working class voters want. They don't give a shit about they don't give a shit about race and DEI crap. After all, minorities currently make up over 40% of America's working class and will likely constitute the majority by the next decade. But many minorities, including the young, seem more concerned with their immediate economic prospects than gaining unearned advantages through DEI programs. Indeed, minority and poor white Americans are mainly concerned about inflation, rising crime, poor schools, and the threats to their livelihoods posed by um, draconian green policies. And by the way, I heard that some of these DEI programs, I think it's either in schools or colleges. One of the programs is a lesson, and they're teaching you on how Beyonce end up becoming what she is now. It's just like, yeah, how the fuck is that gonna help you in the workplace, in the real world. It's not going to help you whatsoever. No potential boss, basically, your potential employer is not going to give a shit about any of that because it's got nothing to do with work. Little wonder nearly half of all Latinos voted for Trump, as did growing numbers of Muslims and black males. Asian voters' support for Trump rose from 27% in 2016 to roughly 40% this year. Today's racialist ideologies, I know for a fact I butchered that one, sorry about that, face another problem too. America is becoming even more diverse in its diversity. The era when the black descendants of slaves dominated America's non-white populations is well over. As minorities grow towards an absolute majority by 2015, by 2050s, excuse me, the Hispanic population will swell to 30% of the total population, more than twice the black share. Asians, meanwhile, will have grown from barely 12 million in 2000 to more than three times that number by the middle of the century. Taken together, Asians and Latinos will account for 40% of Americans and the vast majority of non whites. These trends undermine the racialist meme that sees all people of color through the lens of black slavery and white racism. See, that's the saying. The whole thing, it's not a black and white issue, it's a grey issue. In reality, there are vast differences in experiences, attitudes, outlooks among the main um, racial minorities. Asians generally achieve more academically and have higher incomes than the white majority. There are gender differences too. Among immigrants from Africa, females already do better than whites in general, according to one recent study. Unlike African Americans, most of whose ancestors were forced to come to the US, today's newcomers have migrated voluntarily, though often in difficult circumstances. They tend to be at least indifferent to racial quotas. Asian parents in particular have reacted negatively to DEI inspired attempts to lower admission standards for certain minorities applying to academic high schools. Those behind such moves have claimed that successful Asians have adopted white supremacist thinking, as one San Francisco school board member put it. That and this one talking about these DEI bullshit attempts is just another form of racism the way I see it, because all they want to do is just paint they just want to paint white people, every single white person, as a racist, and that's not how racism works. If anything, the way I see, every there could be people in every race that could not like someone based on their race, like black people could not like Asians because of the fact that they're Asian, because of the fact that they're Asians. That's one such example. Um, but anyway, cultural factors are also critical to the turn against DEI and racial identity. I guess I'll put it like that. Overall, according to one recent survey, immigrants are twice as conservative in their social views as the general public. They are also overwhelmingly reject identity politics. Yeah, the reason why they reject it, because the thing is that it just the Democrats just wouldn't stop talking about it the whole time, and they gave it and they didn't give them jobs or nothing. Um, Racial identity and DEI may excite radicals on university campuses, but but that simply does not work in the real world. Racial ideologies have insisted that minorities should reject qualities and ideas associated with being white, such as hard work, punctuality, individualism, and family. One of the things, my dad was not white, and my dad was a hard worker, and he was punctual, and he had a family. What that made him white? The fuck? And they have even presented streaming students according to their ability in maths and science as racist. I'll tell you something now. These people these people need these people need therapy, and I get the feeling therapy still wouldn't even be enough. Now thinking about that, I mean, they will probably think therapy is a white thing. These approaches cut against what drives immigrants and many minorities. Recent immigrants often show a greater um, proclivity to start businesses than American-born citizens. Ask yourself this: was Tupac a racist? I mean, did Tupac not like white people just because he was black? I don't think so. I think Tupac was more smarter than that to understand that racism is a complex issue. It's not as straightforward. Um, um Blacks hate whites, because that's not what it is. Recent immigrants often show a greater proclivity to start businesses than American-born citizens. Yeah, no, yeah, no, I could, yeah, that pretty much does seem right. Why do you think you see a lot of Asian restaurants, and also, and I'm sure like Nigerian restaurants and stuff like that. Under 14% of the US population is foreign born, yet immigrants represent over 20% of the self employed workforce and 25% of startup founders in Silicon Valley. Nearly three quarters of the tech workforce is foreign. Many came to the US on H-1B visas. Now, and now this I hate. I hate this narrative of saying that, even though we're not Americans, saying that, Americans are lazy, and that because Vivek Ramaswamy and I think Elon Musk pretty much was saying that, Americans are lazy. Well, the thing is, if you're going to take jobs away from Americans and you're just going to give it to foreign people, not like from people from India, and then the thing is, how are Americans supposed to work? I'm sure that they are hardworking Americans, but the fact is, if you're going to keep on taking jobs away from them, and then that's just stupid. Advocates of DEI tend to be blind to the multiracial reality of urban America. In the 53 metropolitan areas with more than 1 million residents, more than three quarters of Black and Hispanic residents live in racially and, um, and ethnically diverse suburbs, ranging from 20% to 60% not white. They are also moving away from those places like New York, San Francisco, LA, Seattle, Portland, excuse me, where DEI and racial quotas are pretty much there. I'm moving instead to red states, metros like Houston, Dallas, Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Boise, I think that's what it says, and Las Vegas. This process of integration acceptance is largely ignored by DEI and racialist ideologies, yet the progress over time has been remarkable. African Americans have served now in virtually all of highest offices, including as president and vice president. They have doubled their numbers in Congress since 1991. Black culture has had profound influence on American society. Indeed, in much of the world, black culture is synonymous with American culture, from hip hop and jazz to fashion and art, and you can say film as well. Not just music, but also film and TV as well. And the neo-segregationist approach of the left misses America's growing integration. Gallup has found that approval for interracial unions has risen from 4% in 1958 to 94% today. The fastest growing racial category in America right now is mixed. 1 in 10 babies born in the US have one white and one non-white parent. There you go. If there's mixed races in America, and it's becoming more and more prevalent, then how the hell is DEI and crap gonna end up having legs? Because it doesn't. Given these changes, it is hardly a surprise that attempts by experts to address race are worse than useless. Indeed, there is a growing literature that shows that DEI policies actually increase racial tensions rather than soothe them. Exactly like I said, DEI policies um, they're pretty much racist in among themselves when you think about it. Moreover, DEI and its derivatives may do more harm than good to the very people they are meant to serve, rather than address social mediated behavioral issues. Notes economist Glenn Laurie, DEI and affirmative action programs undermine minorities' agency, leaving their salvation, ironically, to the supposed racist whites. The demise of DEI represents an important step towards fulfilling what the Swedish sociologist Gunnar Myrdal once called the American creed. That is, an abiding sense that every individual, regardless of their circumstances, deserves fairness and the opportunity to realize their unlimited potential. America's struggle with regional and racial disparities can be best addressed by focusing not on un, unalterable division, but on what unites us as a people. Critically, DEI and its ideological do little to turn around conditions in its barrios or ghettos. Instead, minorities enter American society through what my old friend Sergio Manos calls the multiculturalism of the streets. Those unscripted interactions that take place in public spaces, from markets to dating sites to cafeterias. Last year, 840,000 green card holders became citizens, the most in a decade, with all of the 10 leading countries home to people of colour. Over 10% of the American electoral at the last election was born elsewhere, the highest share in half a century. These new citizens want a better life, not the end of white America that the racial basically what the DEI idiots argue for, rather than help the upper echelon of minorities to supercharge their careers. Steps need to be taken to address the needs of those who are struggling. That means growing the economy, improving education, providing better housing. This should be the focus of both the left and the right, with each arguing the merits of their approach. Oh, as far as like providing better housing, I heard that I know that Mississippi pretty much solved their problem as far as like providing affordable housing. I know for a fact, and I know for a fact that the rest of America hasn't. Um, America does not need more division. It needs to focus on lifting up all those still left behind, from the young Appalachian to the low paid Latino to black descendants of slavery. The end of racial identitarianism can put us on that path. Yeah, 100%. I'm so glad that Trump is getting rid of DEI initiatives in general. I'm just so glad he pretty much signed the executive's order saying pretty much saying no more. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.